Meeting, and call over the roll call
Bristol,
here,
Gooding, Hamilton,
present.
Patovich, Peterson. Here.
Okay. Okay, at this time, we'll open it up for public comment, and this is the opportunity for anyone to speak with anything on discussion of tonight's agenda or anything that is not on the agenda. And this will be the only time to speak on this tonight. And if you'd like to speak, step forward, state your name and address for the record. And each individual will have a total of 3 minutes to comment on a particular discussion item or subject. Anybody?
Care, so I'll be really brief. My name is Dr. Katie Pence. I'm at 100 South 4th Avenue, Unit 2, Classic Concepts Family Dentistry. I did see that I think fluoride was again on the agenda for this evening. Is that correct?
There's some discussion on that, and there was some regulation that was going to be discussed, and I believe some direction that Keegan is looking for on either purchasing or not purchasing going forward. So that'll be some discussion later on.
I just wanted to double check. I won't be able to stay for the meeting this evening, so I'll look at the notes later. I know Dr. Daniels is here this evening, and whatever she says, I agree with. So I feel good knowing that she's here to kind of listen in on the minutes and the notes and see what's going on. I haven't received any communication from anybody as far as what you're using to base your opinions on. Last meeting, I had thought Keegan would reach out and send us some of the things that he's basing his opinion on. I haven't received anything. I also have thought someone would reach out and let us know that this was on the docket tonight, so I just found out last night. So I guess if I could find out a way to get everybody's emails, and maybe I can shoot some things that we have professionally that we base our fluoride recommendations on, and just be a little bit more part of the solution. I think the community would want to know that healthcare is weighing in. And this isn't just maybe a personal opinion on wants and needs for fluoride.
Sure, understood. And I believe if you direct an email to Nevada or Sadie, then she's able to distribute it to us, and
Great.
and we can take a look at any further information. But I think this was more for guidance on, because our fluoride levels are running low, is do we purchase more? What we're looking at here? So that's where we're at with that. So thank you, Dr. Pence.
Thanks, guys.
See you at the next appointment.
Is your email address on the sign-in?
I'll put it down right here.
Okay, and I'll send out.
Email later.
Yep.
Awesome, I appreciate it.
Anybody else? Yes. Dr.
My name is Julie Daniels, and I'm a dentist in Eldridge. I live in Longwood. I'm not a citizen. And I had concern on the agenda on page 31 today, and 41, that the fluoride level as of 11/21 was 0.46 part per million. I wanted to bring that to your attention. I wanted to know if the utility board is aware that that is a naturally occurring level of fluoride, and supplementation didn't seem to occur. Over the last 12 months, if you look on the Iowa DNR website, yeah, ideally you'd like to be 0.6 to 0.8. We have reached that level not a whole lot of times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times half the year. I wanted to know who is responsible for this maintaining 0.7 part per million. We have patients ask us all the time, is fluoride in the Eldridge water? And we say it is optimally fluoridated to 0.7 part per million. And looking at this, that is an untrue statement. So I didn't know who's responsible, who's monitoring, what the difference is. And I've talked to Keegan a couple times today. He has daily monitors that he says that he checks, and sometimes that is maybe different than what this is. It would be nice to see that, but since I've talked to so many people today, all people say it should all be the same regardless of what your monitoring system is. 0.7 is 0.7 is 0.7. It's chemistry. It's not rocket science. And these numbers are not 0.7. So it seems misleading to the public. So I wanted to know about that. I wondered if at all possible, when you come to this portion, because I'm not sure what you will come to, but when you come to this portion of the meeting, is it possible that I could be asked questions or I could speak? Or is it not possible? From what you said earlier today, it does not sound like that's possible.
Yeah, so this is the public comment time here. So this is, we're absolutely, open to hearing your information provided on this. And if you have concerns that, we're not meeting the standards, then, obviously, if we forward that information, we can investigate, why, because I believe right now it is our, expectation to, meet the CDC guidelines. It was my understanding that's what we were focus on. So if it's not for some reason, then, we can get it to the appropriate individuals to, investigate perhaps why.
Yeah, why was it 0.46 on the agenda?
Yeah, I can't answer that at this time, but we'll sure take your question and try to find an answer for that.
And would I be allowed to speak if I'm staying for the meeting in that portion or?
At that portion, I don't know that there's gonna be a lot to speak on. Again, I think this is more directed towards if we're gonna purchase enough fluoride to continue on with the fluoridization. Not sure that we're gonna actually come to a decision tonight on, removing the chemical fluoride. So, I mean, this is really the time, but, this is, if there's any additional information, I know you were great help last time and you gave us the information. If you have some additional, now would be the time.
Except 3 minutes is up, so I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, if there's something that you have, you urgently get to us, then obviously we'll still.
Same as before, the Scottsdale
Okay.
Health Department and what they recommend and the
Sure.
science that's behind it. And.
And I did review that information as well, so, yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Read it. Anybody else?
My name's Beth Campbell. I've been a member of Eldridge for like 40 years. I've reached out to Mr. Hamilton before, a couple months ago. This issue of fluoride is deeply concerning to me and many of my friends. And so I guess I'm very concerned about where this is coming from, what the impetus is, if it's the utility board's vision that this fluoride would be reduced. I'm not sure why this is happening at this point in time, why we're changing the course of action. So I just want to make sure that the purpose of the utility board is serving in the best interest of all the citizens of Eldridge and that they're getting accurate information and that whatever decision you make, that you're taking our opinions into what happens. Because again, there's a lot of feeling that we need to cut fluoride in our water and it's best for our students. I'm the teacher. So anyway, I'm just curious where this is coming from and why. Is this Keegan's idea? Is this the utility board's vision? Is this part of some strategic plan that you've had in place all along and we just weren't aware of it? I just don't know why this is happening.
No, I believe it's, we're still following the CDC guidelines and it's, because we were coming around for the ordering of the fluoride for the next year, it was up for discussion. Is this something we want to continue with? Is there going to be, federal legislation coming down that may change the CDC guidelines? And I think, this is the reason it's kind of been fleshed out, to discuss. And we've had it on several agendas to discuss and take in the, citizen and health professionals' input and other agencies that have weighed in on it. So I know I've received a lot of information on it and I don't think there's any particular driver other than the fact that we need to know if we need to order some for 2025 or where do we stand with that. And I think that's what we're going to discuss here shortly.
Well, if I had an opinion, I would say please order.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. All right, moving on. Number 3, approval of tonight's agenda. We had a chance to take a look at it. Motion by Hamilton, second by Peterson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Nays? Ayes have it. Okay, moving on to item number 4, approval of the utility board meeting minutes from December 3rd, 2024. Have any questions on that? Motion by Hamilton, second by Peterson. Favor say aye. Aye. Nays? Ayes have it. Okay. Moving on to number 5A, consideration to approve the bills payable. Anybody have any questions? came through.
Abby had something.
Yeah, it was just the one on,
The testing?
yeah, the sewer Kirby company one. Is that what it was? Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to open this on, now, MTU testing. Has needed, is that, how often is that, do we know, or what is the? And is that something that we send out for bid?
I believe the testing of early is monthly. No,
It says as needed, but I didn't know.
Let me talk to Keegan on that one so I can make sure I'm giving you the accurate information, or I'm sorry, not Keegan, Colin.
Yeah.
Like the third time.
Yeah.
And then I will get a response back to you on that.
No.
Okay, that was for the testing, I believe, the gloves and the hot stick and
Was that what it was for?
The glove testing is monthly, they send that out.
Yeah.
But this is for, this is MTU testing, and
That's what I was
since it's
clear.
5,800, it's not monthly. It'd
Yeah.
be a project based, I would guess, but let me get that information.
Yeah, I'm sure it's
from Colin.
needed and necessary. I just looking for.
will he be here tonight or?
He will not, no,
Okay.
but I can get that to you tomorrow when I get a chance to run it past him and get a better description on what that is and what prompts it and how often it's done, and then I can send
Yeah,
that.
just because
in a
it's just
follow-up email.
a chunk of change.
Yeah.
Sure,
Just,
absolutely.
Alright, so
Okay.
otherwise that was it for me. I motion to pay.
Motion approved by Peterson. Second by Hamilton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, nays, ayes have it. Okay, on to number 5B, resolution 2024-15, Electric and Water Board adopting investment policy for the Eldridge Electric Water and Utility. So this is being brought up again. We have a motion, move forward with this. I think we dove into this last meeting and Brett, is there any additional questions or information? Anybody
Get any more information about?
Just the update for, the amount for the bond for the employees that was pulled from our insurance coverage, 200,000. So I put that into section 2. And then the only other change that was made was, if I'm section number here. The ethics and conflict of interest in section 10. I put that, amount and where you would have to disclose that business with the depositories that the utility board is using to match that bond for the public employees at an amount of 200,000. So above that, we would need just a general disclosure that the board members would fill out. It gets done annually and just goes on file. So I'll bring a general form for that when we do the depositories at the next meeting. And then anybody that needs to fill one out can just submit that to myself or Sadie. We can put that on file for the board. Those were the only changes.
Okay,
On motion.
second, motion by Peterson, second by Hamilton, and roll call.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Bristol.
Aye. Ayes have it. Okay. 5C, resolution 2024-14. Electric and Water approving the regular scheduled meeting dates for the 2025 calendar year. Everybody have a chance to review that? I know a couple of us had some, discussions on possibly moving it, but I know when I talked to Rachel the other day, I don't know if there's any day really that works better for her than others. So, I mean, I understand she'll probably miss a few, but she's definitely a valuable member of the board. But
Did she respond to anyone as far as Mondays? Cause I know Mark did reach out to me by email and said that whatever day that the board decided he could make work. So
I asked her
maybe
about
Mondays.
Mondays, and it didn't sound like, she sounded like that would have some constraints with it as well, so. I don't know that any other day other than where it's presently at would be any better.
I mean, maybe we just try to keep it where it is, and if she can phone in, great. I mean, even if she's here for most of the meeting, does that count?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you guys have a quorum,
Okay.
you can still take action, and if she can call in, we do have an ordinance that allows them to participate remotely if they're
Okay.
able to. And if not, and you have a quorum, you can still take that action.
Okay.
And if you go ahead and pass the resolution for this, for the Tuesdays to remain, and then at the next meeting or the meeting after, you have the chance to work out different days, if you should decide to choose them, we can publish a new calendar at that point. So we could update it and change it as needed.
I kind of feel like leaving it, just, you know, it's. To
Yeah, I get-
everybody's stuff,
I get used to things.
that's fine, yeah.
Yeah, no,
I
that's,
mean,
yeah,
if we can at least try to have everybody here, that's great, but, you know,
yep,
But if it works out better for somebody else, you know, might.
yeah, flexible, for sure.
So,
So with that, then, if you're gonna stay with Tuesdays at this point, January and September would be the 2 months. They have an asterisk next to them. Those would be different than the first and third Tuesday. They would be the second and fourth. January is due to a holiday, so is September, and we'll align those with the same schedule that the city council.
Yeah,
is holding
right,
next month.
it's a Tuesday after
Yep.
city council.
Yep.
Okay.
within the meeting,
Yeah.
so. Are your motion to proceed with what's been proposed to remain on Tuesdays as spelled out?
motion,
Motion by
Second.
Hamilton, second by Peterson, and roll call vote.
Peterson? Aye. Bristly?
Aye.
Hamilton?
aye,
Okay. And 5D, resolution 2024-16, electric and water adopting the Eldridge purchasing policy and procedural manual. Anybody have any questions on that? About anything to add further than what we got before us?
Nope, it's pretty straightforward with the memo. Since it's not an ordinance that would be automatically adopted by the board, we'll bring it in front of the utility board for approval as well. It's just a standard purchasing policy that sets limits and authorization procedures for the department head level, the city administration level, and then what needs to go for sealed quotes, sealed bids, and then of course your vertical and horizontal infrastructure are set by the Iowa DOT limits each year. So those will change and be updated in this policy annually.
Okay,
This was recommendation or has been a recommendation from our auditors for internal controls.
okay, thank you.
We haven't looked at it before, I just want to look at one thing, I think it's good. All motion,
Motion by Peterson,
second,
second by Hamilton. Favors or roll call for this one as well.
Bristly?
Aye.
Hamilton?
aye,
Peterson?
aye,
And 5E, discussion and consideration to approve the utility cost sharing portion for the city's website redesign.
Yeah,
Let's know,
so
hopefully it doesn't carry.
this one just popped up out of nowhere. It was a result of ARPA funds that the general fund has, that has to be allocated within the next 2 weeks, or the city has to pay back that over $1 million that they received in ARPA funds. So we have 2 weeks to commit those to a project. Some of the ideas that had been brought forward by council and approved are not at a point where there's a contract or agreement ready to sign. So we need to have a project that's ready to go. One thing that's come up consistently with board members, other elected officials, staff, and residents has been our website and being able to get to the information that you need without having to click through several different screens, being able to pay bills, and just the overall user friendliness of the website. So we got 3 vendors that were able to turn around a pretty quick proposal. One of them being Zoke Marketing, which was recommended by our current website host, Wix. The council did not take much consideration for that one because there was no guarantee that we were gonna have a secure website, and it wasn't in compliance with, ADA and accessibility and privacy content that has regulations set by the state and federal, government. So, and that's where we're currently at with our website. We found out through this process that we have some things that are not compliant. So that, got us down to De Novo Marketing and Civic Plus. Civic Plus is a platform that we use for our social media archiving. They came in with a bid of $1,000 for the website and anywhere between $4,500 to $6,100 a year for hosting and maintenance. Basically what they're gonna do is take the content we already have and put it in a template or a customized design. They're not gonna review the content or update it, pretty standard. It would improve what we have, and should meet the accessibility and the privacy requirements. But De Novo is the marketing firm that is, I guess, sponsored by Iowa League of Cities. So their proposal was 50,000, and then, but they had a annual fee of 3,900, so they were the lowest ongoing fee, but it was a large project cost. And some of the reasons for that being they would offer a secure host site connection. They would make sure that we stayed in compliance with that ADA accessibility and our privacy statement and our secure content. They are going to review and optimize all of our current content and automate the forms that we have on there, like our public records forms and all of that. So that when people go on to submit those forms, they go right to the person that they need to go to automatically. And then they will also take our current logo and they will kind of do a consistent brand across all the websites with that logo so that our police department, our community center, our city, website, all have that city brand communication. So you can tell that they're all City of Eldridge. And then, of course, they'll have their own information on them from there, but it will give some consistency in all of our communication that goes out and line that up with the current logo that we have. So it is a much higher amount for the project, but you get a much better product. And I think when I was out today for a few hours, we got it prepared to pull up one of their sample websites.
So when I reviewed the different companies, the difference between Denova and Civic Plus, basically Civic Plus, and I'm not a very computer type guru, but Civic Plus was more of a landing page, and then it just had tabs that would take you other places. As Denova is more user friendly, it's interactive, and if you want to just pull through some of their tabs, like think if you go to services, you can drop it down. There's forms. You can do pretty much anything. Much of what we do by phone here. But, I envision not only, building permits, you could probably buy dog tag license, renew that kind of stuff that is like, as homeowners, there's things that we don't remember. And I would say dog tags is one big one, but you can order, we can set up to order stickers for extra garbage or for the grass clippings and that, and have them mailed to you. It's gonna save people making a trip. It's gonna save, I would say, it's a little bit of staff time on the backside, but it's gonna give the community more access to all the different things that are offered by the city. And then you can put in, social events. There's a spot on there for calendars that we could have the local town ball leagues could send information in, could get posted on there. But there's just so much more of an interaction here that,
Sounds worth it.
we talked about you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And for the cost of what the other one was, we're getting what we have with the bonus. And I'm not saying it was definitely an improvement, but I thought we would be back in the same place in 5 to 10 years again. How user friendly is it? And more and more older people now are getting on the internet with their phones and iPads and tablets and stuff. And we just need something that is streamlined and something that is very usable. And I see the benefits to it on the backside too, as to helping with staffing. So,
Sure. Yeah, this will absolutely make some of our staff's jobs easier, for sure. And all of the certifications and reports that we have to post, we want them, we're posting them, but I mean, unless you know exactly what you're looking for and you're familiar with where that would be in a government department, it can be very difficult to find right now.
No
And
offense,
we
this is
want
a
them-
huge improvement over what we have.
Yeah.
We can.
So for clarification though, just so you know what council, how we voted on this last night was one was $1,000, one was 50,000. There's a vast difference there. Why? And so what we've asked Nevada to do, we approved it last night. However, we want her to go to the next step of before we sign a contract, we want clarification on what additional we're getting for that 50,000. And if it's something we don't need, can that price be reduced? So what we looked at last night and voted on was a maximum. We're anticipating that we might be able to trim some here and there, and we won't know that until we get those answers back. But again, we need this, and it came up in our town hall meeting that we had last week too by the citizens. That was one of the topics. This has been long overdue. So again, what we voted was worst case scenario. I'm hoping that we can trim that down and still have, anything's gonna be an improvement, but having this interaction, this website's really, it's pretty cool.
I am confident in my discussion, with the representative at DeNovo that, we will be able to negotiate. I don't know how far, I mean, we're not gonna get them that far down, but because of all of the work that they put in, they come out, they do site visits and talk to the departments and see, and figure out what services we offer, what things we can link in, what we can offer on the website. And then they, review all of that content and do all of that, the work that goes into making it consistent across all of the pages too. So they do put a lot more time and effort into that build out than some of the other proposals that we're seeing. So, but I do think that we'll be able to get it down a little bit. I don't have an exact number right now. I know the council did approve that I could negotiate that with them, and they approved to be able to spend that remaining ARPA fund money at that would be the limit that we can't exceed out of the general fund. But then, of course, we look at the contribution from the other funds that contribute to all of the current website or the software and things, and we do kind of an equal ratio of that. So I don't have that negotiated number yet, but when I do, I'll send that out right away. But as Ryan stated, the council did approve to go forward with DeNovo, assuming we can, once, and sharing that description out when we have it and that negotiated price, whatever that looks like.
Okay, I appreciate that. And I did review last night's meeting and, I believe everybody's on board with DeNovo. I just wasn't clear on what motion passed. I know Councilman Yossi put forth a motion and I didn't quite get all the details, I guess.
I need there for a little bit.
It did, yeah. So I guess my input is absolutely the utility, electric and water do share. It is a resource for us as well. What I wasn't clear on is, okay, if it's $50,000 and ARPA funds covers 22,000 of it, are we asking for, say, a 4-way split?
Yeah, what's the split on, or what is the design?
So,
On the
what it's been typically with the website and like with our Tyler Technologies and stuff, which is the software, we run all of our billing and HR management. It's typically 50-50 between the utility and the city because the utility is probably the heaviest user of like the software and the functionality of the website at that point. Whether that remains the same here, I mean, we've got to split that out, but it would be, I mean, I would imagine it would stay pretty close to that between the departments, and that is including the sewer as well. So what that means for what was approved here would be, I would have to negotiate them down to around 44,000 to make it work. And so looking at the budgets for electric and water, electric can certainly handle it out of the contingency fund without any budget amendment or anything like that. We would probably take minimal out of water and even that out. But with the timeline of the project too, there's potential that that portion of it wouldn't even need to get paid until the next fiscal year and could just get budgeted in. So there's ways to work around that, but that's what we would be looking at, negotiating them down to at the current limit that the council has set, but hopefully we can get them down more. I'm sure she will be able to tell me that really quickly. She knows that we have to sign a contract on this within the next 2 weeks. And they turned around a proposal pretty quickly, and I'm confident just in those discussions that we'll be able to negotiate something. I just can't give you an idea of what that is yet, but I will soon.
We did vote on we had a contingency plan in there too. So let's say, cause the number 35,000 was thrown out. One council member said if there was 35,000, I'd be on board. But let's hypothetically say that was the number. And if you split 35,000 in half, it's less than that $22,000. So we have a contingency plan in the circumstance that we were able to negotiate that number down. We would take the remaining ARPA funds and put that towards the stormwater studies. And so we do have a backup plan. So if obviously the best service we can get at the most reduced price is our goal with a backup plan. So what numbers that she's thrown out to you are the maximums.
Okay, I just want to better understand the split. So if Nevada's successful with, say, for instance, hypothetically getting them to $40,000. And if the ARPA funds covers 22,000, then it would be a 50-50 split on the 18,000 between the city and the utility board?
So the 22,000 would be the city split, because it's general fund revenue. It was awarded, it was not awarded, I guess, but given to the city with the ARPA funds for revenue loss. So it was calculated off revenue loss from the general fund. So it can't be contributed to any enterprise fund, but it's still city general fund money it's essentially unrestricted and can be used for any services. We're just trying to put it towards those big projects that we didn't fund or budget in before.
I think the short answer for you, Mike, is that's money that ARPA funds is what the city is using on behalf of our contribution for the general fund portion of that.
So it's covering their half,
Correct.
and then the utility board would be covering the other half.
Correct.
Essentially, if we didn't use the ARPA funds, we'd be covering it out of the general fund. So it'd be the exact same pot of money, and that 22,000 would go towards whatever.
You know, everybody has to upgrade or you're out of business, so.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I guess it was my understanding from watching that the ARPA money would use to reduce the negotiated amount, and then the negotiated amount left over would be split between the entities.
But my authorization is the 22,000 total. That's all I'm authorized to commit from the general fund. From the city portion.
And right now the bid's 50.
Right now, the bid is 50, so they'd have to negotiate down for us to be able to sign a contract with them.
We'd have enough in electrical to do part of it for now.
Yeah, if it had to be paid in this fiscal year, the utility would be able to cover their portion. There's also the potential that it would be budgeted next year. And just built into the budget that way.
Because we haven't
But
done budgets yet, right?
No, we're getting ready to do the budgets. Yeah, we're just starting that process right now.
And we won't know until later. If we,
Yep.
so we're all gambling.
Yeah.
Was it essentially a little bit?
It was, we had a short list of things that we really thought the engineers were gonna come back with cost studies on, and that we weren't gonna have to be in this position to be rushed.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, here we are.
okay.
So essentially that 22,000, it will get worked out because the sewer is under the city governance. So just like our current website and our current billing and HR management software, it's 50-50 between utility and city, but basically a 4-way split. But because the sewer is under the governance of the city, then we'll appropriate these 22,000 so that we don't have to pay back the 1 million and then work that out between the city funds. But regardless of whether it was ARPA funding or not ARPA funding, the split would be the same.
Same, yeah.
I get it.
What was the top figure that was agreed upon by the council last night?
44,000.
The general fund contribution was 22,048 cents.
That change.
Has to be done to the 48 cents.
Appropriation will be done by December.
So,
Close
are you
the-
responsible for spending the 5 cents then, half of that?
Yeah,
No, we've got the 22,048
Appropriation
coming out of
agreement has to be
city
signed by
funds.
the end of the month, but the expenditure.
But to keep it a fair split, we would cap it, that they would have to negotiate down to at least 44,000, so that we don't put more burden on the utility board of covering more than that 50%.
but there's a potential that we could do less even.
If I can get, yes,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
give them that high dollar and ask them if they'll meet us there, I'm gonna ask them what we can
Yeah,
get
start
back to.
low. Yeah.
Yeah,
Once they watch the video in long.
Yeah.
Yeah. yeah. They'll negotiate.
I mean, I kind of feel like it's
It's necessary.
it's necessary for the future. If it can streamline a few things, if people can find stuff easier, especially even for our own information, you know, paying bills and online, and if that's gonna reduce, you know, some of our costs and stuff too, over time, or make it easier. Is there like a reporting system for people to report outages and stuff?
Yes, there actually is.
Yeah.
It's for complaints, everything from police department to,
Yeah,
I've got a tree that's
instead of
down.
having somebody call, let's have it in writing and
So all
stuff.
the information that,
Yeah, yeah. correct.
all
Yeah,
information
but I
that
don't
we,
use it.
What was
Yeah.
that?
all the information that we have or look up, Keegan information, whatever. So these two ladies back here, they could just look up on the
Yeah,
website and find it very easily that.
It's all uploaded.
yeah, so this would be a big upgrade, like I said, Civic Plus would be taking our current content, what we've got on there, which in my opinion is, we lack a lot of information that we could put on there, but maintaining it and adding that takes a lot of time. So in that process, one of my asks would be for each of those departments, I would like that department head information on there, a little bit of information about the department head, the services they provide, links to some of those services, wherever that makes sense. Things like that. So building out those department head pages, the board pages, giving more information on all of those things. And of course, for utility billing and reports and those things that have to be on there for compliance, I would like those to be easily identified. Those are the utility billing and public records I would be really confident saying those are the two biggest things that people come to our website for.
What was the annual cost of, those companies?
The annual cost was the lowest with De Novo. It was, $3,900 a year.
And that's a 50-50 split too,
Yep,
at the end of the day, okay.
yep. So that would be the ongoing cost.
And what was Civic Plus?
Civic Pluses was ranging because you have an ultimate or a premium option for your content, $4,500 to $6,100 a year. And then, I don't remember what Zoic was, but I know it was above the 3,900, so I think they were maybe right around, they were somewhere in 4,000. They were under 5, but over 4.
Okay.
So ongoing, after we get that big project cost out of the way, this is the most cost effective going forward as well, which I think is a huge bonus considering the product we would be getting from this.
Yeah. What does Davenport use? Do you guys know?
Davenport has their own IT system in-house. I think, I think their website was created by NeoGov, and then they do all of the build of everything internally
So
and the monitoring.
I've been on theirs for a few things, so I just wasn't sure.
Yeah, I was gonna look into Bettendorf's. I didn't get around to that today, but I'm not sure who they use, but I'll let you know.
If Decker would know. So, yeah, okay.
So Civic Plus does a lot of municipalities. De Novo does a lot. I mean, they're sponsored by the Iowa League, so a lot
So
of
they're
their
definitely in
municipalities. Yes, they are going to be.
That's-
Civic Plus will be in compliance as well, but I did notice for Civic Plus that their proposal, their add-on services had things like ADA accessibility, where to get more of that service provided, it would cost us more. So, I mean, if we went with Civic Plus, then we would be looking at more costs as we got through the project to have the things that we needed, even though we're capable of doing it, where DeNovo just gave us that upfront cost, which was a bit of a shock looking at the other ones, but it is what it is. We know what we're getting and it's a full service.
Mhm.
Did it say on
Revive,
there? Oh, yeah,
powered by Revive.
yeah.
Well, I kind of feel like we should go along that price point, especially if it has, capabilities beyond what we're thinking right now, and as the city grows and, you know, our needs to keep people up to date too, and, you know, nice spots where, you know, you could do an update on the website quickly if needed, you know, if there was an issue. That way it's, right now it's a little antiquated, I think.
Well, I struggle to find recycling pickup. I mean,
That's-
never remembers, this
Yeah, I
week or
know.
next week.
That's, yeah, we talked about that as the staff too. If you aren't in the public sector and you know what the name of the form you might be looking
Mhm.
for, or you know what documents exist,
Yeah.
you're never gonna find them because we know how to go in and find the comprehensive plan because we know that it exists, but
It's
a resident might not know that we have something called a comprehensive plan and all the information in it. So, I mean, how are they gonna search it? And then if they do know, they're still gonna have to click through a couple different screens to find it.
And who with the city office would be going through and updating the documents that is part of our website now? I know, like, if I click on interconnect agreements, it still has Jake Rose email for, response, and I think a lot of things were put in for 2023 that still is there, so there's probably gonna be some time committed to freshening all the information
Yep.
as well.
That'll be that part that they had in their proposal about the review and optimization of our content to go through and make sure that it's all still relevant, it's compliant, it's legal, it's up to date. So that would be part of their process, and then they do come and fully train the staff. I believe it's for 3 weeks before we go live on our own, and then staff will continue to do daily maintenance like we do with our current
And
website.
there's no hidden fees with that.
Nope, that's all included in this proposal.
Good
That's
price.
probably the reason.
Yeah, that's probably why the price is.
They
Yeah.
look at the website.
They do site visits, initially, and then they come out and spend time doing full staff training. I mean, it's not wrong. They did look at our website, because the first thing they noticed was that we did not have a secure site and that we were not compliant, so, which was,
Okay,
it's a small community.
it is.
Growing pains.
So the ask then would be for a motion to, utility board to pick up to 22,000 then?
Just, yeah, whatever their portion would be, it would be maxed at 22, because that's the max the council
to,
did.
yeah.
And then I'll keep you updated on what we get them down to.
And then we would have to decide how that gets split between water and electric.
If you want to do a different split than normal, normally I think it's 25 and 25.
Okay.
And then 25 sewer and city. But depending on whether we would go in this fiscal year or the next fiscal year, if it's in this fiscal year, it may be beneficial to go more from the electric and then just even it out in the next year's budget. But if it goes over to the next budget year, then we can just split it out, and it's gonna be about the same cost as what we already budget for software and technology anyways.
Alright. So I suppose, no motion for spending up to 22,000. Or
Sure,
for
cost.
shared cost for the De Novo website.
Motion by Peterson, second by Hamilton. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Nays? Ayes have it. Okay. And 5F, department update. Amanda, do you have some more for us?
I will keep it brief. Wednesday, January 29th at 4:30 is the scheduled council and board member training. The community center is not available, so we are looking at either having it here or potentially the library. So I will, work on that and get that location out to you guys as soon as possible. It should be about an hour and a half training. The full staff, including utility staff, did the active threat training last week with our Eldridge Police Department. The training went really well. Everybody was really engaged. It was really informative. So we definitely appreciate our Eldridge PD and the Sheriff's County, Scott County Sheriff's Office helped with that as well. So it was a really excellent training. They did a great job. So that's all I've got.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to number 6, electric department on outages. If Colin's not here, Nevada, do you have information on any outages?
No outages.
No outages. Excellent. And any updates on behalf of the electric department?
I don't think so. He may have emailed me something. I got into my office about 10 minutes before this meeting started. So if I come across something in email, I'll send that out to the board as soon as I get to it.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to 7A with the water department, water main breaks. Egan, anything?
No breaks.
Excellent news.
That's lucky. It's nice. It's smooth sailing.
Water test, and moving on to 7B, water test results.
Yeah, back tees for November all passed. I think about it. Send you guys
I
those.
saw that.
So back tees, that's the only one we're kind of following right now anyway. We have no compliance in the fall or their release, so we're all good on water tests.
Okay. And then anything else on that, water testing? Okay. 7C, update on the water department projects from Lenny Larson of ISG Engineering. Welcome, Lenny.
How's it going tonight?
Good.
Dropped off a memo with Nevada, just explaining some things that we've reviewed. I'm not gonna dive into the details of it, review it and let me know if you have any questions. The 3, I'd say, big items on it, that I think would need to be addressed sooner rather than later is the clear well, eliminating short circuiting in the clear well. The chlorine gas that I talked about last time with it being in the filter room rather than the chlorine gas room. And then the other is, well, number 2, just making, I had told Nevada and Keegan that we should probably get a geotech engineer, someone who can drill a core through the concrete pad down around the well itself, just to make sure there's no void or any integrity with the well itself that's compromised. Because we noticed things like water on the street and things like that occurring when it's turned on during the fall and winter time. So just to make sure there's no big concerns, and getting that core will let us know if there's anything to be concerned about at that location. So with those 3 items, I'm gonna work on putting costs associated with those improvements and get them over to Nevada and Keegan and by January, to be able to give the board an idea of what those projects would cost, the budget level costs associated with that. But just wanted to let you know kind of where things stand on that front. We're working through population and water projections for the city growth, and then also accounting for some industry growth down on the south side of town. We'll have some projections and different scenarios with projections ready in January, and meet with city staff and present that to the board in January. One thing we'll want to do is just talk through the different scenarios, which one that the board and the city would feel most comfortable moving forward with in that regard, for projections, because you can run it 100 different ways and get a different number or a different projection, but making sure it meets the city's needs and vision moving forward. And then the other item that we're working through is we talked to Iowa American Water a little bit. They're gonna be sending us some water quality information on what they have for their distribution system. What we're gonna do there is take all the data that Keegan sent over from the city's system, compare it to see if it would be a good system as a backup for blending. If not, we're also working through the projection demands and kind of that southern tier, I guess I'll call it, for the industrial park, or where industrial zoning's at. And talk about potentially along with the city and the board of, if that demand becomes too great, is there a good split between the 2 entities that maybe they take on some of that southern industrial growth, that may be a higher water demand that will be hard for the city to support themselves. Talking to Keegan, there's some that are coming in with 1 million, 2 million gallons per day. So that's not something the city could tackle today, but maybe in 5-10 years you could tackle. But that's gonna be a lot to do. And if you want some of that growth to come into town, it may be something where you have to work out a partnership with Iowa American Water, because they more than likely have some additional capacity, being a larger municipality and a larger water service provider. So those are the things we're really working on right now. They're building the hydraulic water model. So at the end of all this, and I'd say in March, you'll have a a report that's specifically focused on the water treatment, the wells and the storage aspect of the system. And then the hydraulic model, it takes quite some time to build, especially because all we had was GIS, so we're building it from scratch. And then we're gonna have to be working with Keegan when they get it built and they figure out where the errors are and where they need to, where we need to get some, data from Keegan to help project that model and correct it in a sense to make sure that it's not just spitting out, scenarios, that it's actually in relation to what the city has going on with the system. It's a check and balance that we typically do. So some of that will be, depending on what the model is showing, is we may have to get some hydrant testing. We may have to do some analysis. I talked about it at the last one with fluoride where that doesn't deteriorate. So that's something that we can monitor out in the system to see, how the water is moving throughout the system, so we can understand how the water moves and what we may have to do. Another thing that I'm having them look at is the fill rate of the two towers, for instance. One tower fills a lot quicker and it draws down a lot quicker. And that's mainly due to having more water use on the west side of town or west of Highway 6, the highway there. And then, looking at, do we need to do any improvements to that valve that's down at the base of that tower? And that way they fill evenly and they drop evenly. There's things you can do there, or is it a different pressure zone that we want to work out of, or set up a different pressure zone east of the highway, to get better water usage throughout that system. And then I talked with Keegan about a few tests that we'd like him to run at the plant in order to clarify what's being done after the filtration of the water plant before it goes into that clear well, so we understand what the water quality is, because you really have three different treatment processes. You have one system that's pre-chlorinated and post-chlorinated. You have one system that's not chlorinated at all. And then the other one, I'm struggling to remember.
It's fully pre-chlorinated.
It's fully pre-chlorinated. So one thing we're gonna look at is, are you getting good biological removal with the one set of filters that have no chlorination whatsoever? And if you are, can we, at some point in time, convert to having no pre-chlorination and switching over from chloramines to free chlorine? We might not make that switch from chloramines to free chlorine, but if we're able to go biological with that system, it will assist with better control for city staff and the water department staff on the distribution system, the water quality out in the distribution system. They're not gonna have to flush hydrants as often as they currently are. And then the other aspect is it will also reduce your chlorine usage, which is a good point too. So we'll reduce chlorine demand, which will ultimately reduce costs in that sense. But things take place biologically if able. We're not sure on that. That's why we're gonna have Keegan and Bryson get a few more tests for us to confirm that, so.
Okay, thank you. Well, I have one question. You were talking about the additional testing on well number 2. I know a few months back, I think we pulled that pump and had some work. Was the camera dropped down that casing while the
Yeah, so I think they did send us a video, or they uploaded a video to YouTube. So I can get that URL if you guys would want to see that.
Was there anything suspicious that
So the diameter of that well has collapsed a little bit. I think when they initially drilled it, it might have been a 10-inch bore. It's gone down to like a 6.5-inch, maybe just a 7. So it's gone down enough where we can't even get an airline in there, which I reached out to the DNR about the airline because we're supposed to be doing that for our drawdown. And they never responded to me. So that's another thing that I'll have to follow up on, is making sure that well 2 is adequately being tested, which we're still trying to monitor that. But yeah, the diameter of that well has shrunk.
and was there any anomalies
There is,
identified that would this boring would possibly help?
This boring is on the outside of the casing, so, I haven't seen the video, but, if we can take a look at it too and see if we notice anything.
I just think that'd be a helpful.
Yeah, no, it would be, but this is also looking at it from the outside perspective. If there's a big void there, in my opinion, that's not typical.
Sure.
And it's something that we would want to uncover and make sure that there's nothing from the outside that could compromise the well. It may not be compromising it right now, but who knows, 2, 3, 10 years down the road, what may be occurring, and that it could be addressed sooner rather than later before it becomes an issue, is really.
So to kind of clarify, so when you're in well 2, so the well comes up, there's a 90, it goes over for about 4 feet, then 90's back down, and that's where it goes into the raw system that goes up to the treatment plant.
Mhm.
There's a concrete pad that got, I don't know if there was damage in that well before I even started in Eldridge, but that new concrete pad that's poured there on the effluent side that goes into the system, when you're standing on that concrete pad, it sounds hollow underneath of it. And so that was what brought up the concern, was we don't know if there's cavitation underneath of that. So that, I think that's what we're gonna be looking into. It's not necessarily the well itself, but it might be the effluent where the raw is being fed into the system.
Yeah.
So that's what would be looked at pretty much. I mean, short term, yeah, we could probably go bust up that concrete pad and just take a immediate look. But we could also have a core done where they could precision get down in there and see if there's anything actually, like actual void down there.
Yeah, it's low cost and not a lot of time spent to be able to see if you need to continue digging, and if it comes back and everything looks okay down there, then you know, okay, let's move on from that topic and not have to worry and put too much time and money invested into it, is how we look at that.
Okay.
So, and it might be something where if the city's doing a street project and next year they have to do some cores on the street project, you could just ask them, hey, would you be able to run down to well number 2 and do a core through the pad there? Say it would be the same type of firm that would be doing that work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it could be scheduled relatively easy in conjunction with the city to save costs if needed.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Okay, moving on to 7D. Discussion on the Iowa DNR notification requirements for the fluoridation and consideration to proceed with notices. So I know, we had some information included here, and I believe part of that agenda was, discussion on the fact that the fluoride levels were low. And we need to provide direction if, you're gonna reorder or.
So we did, so prior to December 7th, we had about 70 gallons-ish, 60 gallons left. The valve for that bulk tank that goes into the day tank. So the quarter turn valve and the quarter turn block pretty much where it keeps you from going past closed. That's been broken for some time, and we've asked ACO to replace that, and they were actually out today, but they did not bring the valve with them. So what happened basically was I was the one that did it, but if you go past closed, it reopens that valve like most normal valves do. So basically I went barely past closed. It allowed a continuous drip to go into that day tank. So then that bulk tank just fed that day tank and it overflowed. I don't know if I've sent you those pictures of what the fluoride had done to the concrete, but it essentially ate through 2 solid kind of cement bricks and then chewed away part of our floor. So we actually went down from 7 to 10. So then we did actually order enough for 5 months.
Okay.
So that got delivered today and they were supposed to do the maintenance, but the maintenance didn't get done. So we're gonna have ACO come back out. They're gonna replace the valve and then they're also gonna vent the caustic tanks to the outside of the building. So ACO's got some maintenance to come back and do for us.
To the, venting out to the,
They've not priced it for me yet,
okay.
but, to stick with the fluoride, so we do have enough for 5 to 6 months of feeding. So then on the topic of notification, we are required as a public water service to notify our consumers, give them a 90-day notification, and then we also have to notify the state health department. The DNR does not require any notification. I also talked to them about the spill. The DNR took my conversation with them as their notification. There's no forms or responses that they need as far as documentation. Same with the state health department. There's no forms or documentation that they need as far as response. So we're all good on those ends and we're still feeding fluoride. So
Okay, so we have enough fluoride on hand. the valve is still, they'll be repaired, what, by the end of the week, I suppose, it's,
I'll push the point, but.
Yeah.
Cause they have different teams pretty much, and those teams, they control. We're in Region 7, I think they control like 30 counties within Iowa, so.
but you're aware of the issue, so you know that
Right.
you gotta treat that carefully until it-
You gotta have
it's repaired.
like a soft touch, just can't go even a slightly past closed, so.
So the notification that we would have here would be only if a decision was made to remove the fluoride, the chemical fluoride, and then the notification would be sent out.
That the board knows what steps we need to take when and if they have that conversation. It would be only if permanent discontinuation of fluoridation was going to occur, then we would need to notify the customers, the public health system, and the DNR. The DNR would take the notice of the notice date for that 90-day period to be whichever was the last occurring of notification to the health system or to the customers. And then there's various ways that meet that requirement to notify customers of that discontinuation. So that step is only going to need to occur if in fact the board does make that decision when they have that discussion that that's what they want to do, then we would have to take that 90-day. So there's nothing we need to do right now at this point when there's just simply discussion on whether or not, that treatment process is
And the
something that's going to continue.
90-day notification for consumers would just be on their bill. We wouldn't have to do anything special other than put a note on their next.
So like
utility
late
bill.
February, beginning of March is when we would have, late February.
For that
For
discussion,
that discussion would be like your end date, and before we would have to reorder more fluoride.
So yeah, currently right now, we have enough to get to April, May,
May.
so, but
it takes
that's.
about a month, you said? Or a few weeks, when you order it, from time to order it to receiving it is a couple weeks?
Typically,
3 weeks?
they're on like a once a month cycle for delivery. That's typical. If you are urgent for it, they can usually get out within a couple of days. So we can really order whenever we would like to, but their typical delivery times are once a month.
I just wanted to give a little bit of time to make sure that, if there's gonna be an EPA regulation or
Further CDC guidance, I think.
CDC guidance, some kind of legislative type of thing that is gonna be changing, that we would have time to know, notify and do everything, but I think, we're fine waiting on stuff then. We've got plenty of time.
Yeah, and I think that was our discussion last time, was to continue to table it until perhaps there's additional CDC guidance and then make a decision then. So again, I agree with Abby, no rush here. And we're aware of the notification now if that decision is made at some point in the future. But at this point, I believe we're still tabled. So
I think it's really important to press that valve issue, because regardless of
Yeah.
everything else going on,
yes,
if you ordered that repair and they showed up without that valve, that's on them. So I would adamantly push that, because keeping control of what we have right now and extending that for as many months as we can is probably the most important thing we can do. There's
Especially
nothing
knowing
else more
exactly
critical.
how caustic it is.
yeah.
Yes.
And the fact that
Yeah.
Dr. Daniels has shared that perhaps the levels not being, out through the city proper, it's so that, I don't know if that would have anything to do with that valve or not, so.
No, because so our diaphragm pumps strictly out of the day tank.
Okay,
So as long as the day tank has fluid in it,
okay,
it's pumping out. So the bulk tank is strictly for storage.
sure, okay.
So the day tank's never ran dry. Like that's been full for a decade.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll say one thing. If it was 0.46 on 11/21, is that considered breaking the law since there was not a notification to the constituents or to the city? Just a question.
Yeah, that's, and definitely welcome the question, and so I'm not aware of any laws being broken, but again, we're happy to investigate, you know, that and see if we can provide a better answer. Cause I can't give you an answer right now. This is the first I've heard that, yeah.
No, there's no regulation that fluoride has to be fed. So, this is something the city's doing on their own accord. That's not state or federally mandated. So you don't wanna go too much because that has negative impacts, but if you're feeding too low, it's not really.
There's only regulation about overfeeding. You can never underfeed because we're doing this because we thought we think it is a benefit to the community.
Correct.
But there's no regulations stating that we have to be feeding.
It's not like chlorine where there's a minimum residual that shall be met. Fluoride, there's not that requirement from a state or federal level.
Hopefully that answers your question.
Well, just to clarify too, just because it came up, treatment at no point stopped, our regular treatment process. There was no point where, Keegan was following any different operations or not feeding fluoride the same that they do. So for the sample, and there's a lot of different reasons that those levels would fluctuate. But the treatment process has been the same. There was at no point that we stopped feeding any
Yeah.
fluoride. So I just wanted to make that
You do
that
have
point
a
clear.
reason why it would be 0.46?
I said that that would be something you would have to talk to the lab about.
There could be other influences that, we just don't have the answers here tonight,
Right.
so.
If he
But we
pumped
can-
with so much water that is testing where, him knowing what he's putting in, and it comes up to 0.7, then the water itself changes, you know,
And there's also gonna be many variables between our testing and the lab's testing.
exactly.
So like what we might get is gonna be different from the lab, but at the end of the day, we do have testing regulations. It's on our monthly MOR. It's satisfactory to the DNR. And then what the lab sends to the study health lab is satisfactory. I mean, we received the CDC commendation for fluoride levels for the last 8 years.
Absolutely.
So the CDC is also very aware that we're meeting those standard recommended levels per their guidelines. So
No, they're good.
Thank you.
So there's gonna be variables.
Yeah, thank you, Keegan. Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys.
Thank you, Dr. Daniels. So, okay, so again, will be no decision, get good discussion, but, so at this point, no further action on the fluoride. Moving on to 7E, discussion and consideration to pay registration and training expenses per public works employee to attend winter water conference for CEUs to maintain water certification. Is this for you or for,
No, so this would be for the mechanic.
Okay.
He's a public works employee.
Okay,
He does hold a grade 1 distribution certification. So he would just require 1 CEU for that. I will say there are webinars and seminars that are available free online. So I don't know if it would necessarily.
How many CEUs do you get going to this 2-day event?
So this 2-day event, I think you get 2.4, 2.5 CEUs because it's full 8-hour days. But yeah, given that it's not an actual water employee, I'd say it's almost not a necessity.
So there's a little information in the packet, for this item. With that being the city mechanic, it is a 2-day conference. The cost of registration, Keegan is already going, as he needs to attend that. The cost of registration for one person is $455 plus $147 per night pre-tax for the hotel room, which would be 2 nights lodging, and then any additional mileage or meal costs that would need to be covered as outlined in our policy and the CBA. So with Keegan currently attending, right now Bryson is not registered, and we do have that third full-time operator starting in January. That employee is not currently registered. I don't know if there's an intention to send that water department employee. We do have 2 backup water operators in our wastewater treatment plant. They maintain their certifications when they go for their wastewater treatment. They get those CEUs concurrent with that training. So they actively participate as backup emergency operators that would do rounds or do any operational duties. So that puts us at 5
Yeah, so at the end,
water
we'll have-
operators.
yeah, we'll have 5 total people that would be taking care of water operations in the event that they would need to. So yeah, the public works employee doesn't partake in most of our day-to-day. I think I don't know the full reason why he's maintaining a certification, but
It'd be roughly $1,000 to send into this.
Yeah, we'd be that, yeah, and that was the reason for putting it on the agenda, with it not being a water department employee. Typically with the training policy and stuff, there's enough room there to be able to approve out of the training budget, but I did not feel comfortable with it not being someone paid out of the water department to approve a training budget of that amount without the board having that consideration.
So Keegan, how do you feel about it? Do you think, what's your opinion? I don't wanna hear your opinion.
I mean, we're gonna be fully staffed by January, so there's not really a necessity to have people outside of our department with certifications. So if they wanna take on the free webinars or free seminars, I totally encourage them to do that to maintain their CEUs and their certifications. But I'm hard pressed to use utility funds to send somebody outside of the department, especially for a 2 to 3 day conference.
Is the new employee, does he have the opportunity to go to this?
I mean, you
Yeah.
certainly could.
Yeah, and if it was something where I'm basically going to get my CEUs instantly out of the way for the
Right.
year, so then I can send Bryson and the new employee to any conference or classes going forward through the year. So he will have, if he comes in and he needs them,
Right, I just didn't know where he was at on his training and knowledge and
and he's
stuff.
not attending.
Okay,
So
So you think money would be better off spending on the new employee?
I think
Him
to send
into,
to send our current operators, I think it'd be better spent there.
that's all I need.
And he could still obtain his certification, like you said, with webinars.
Yes, and if they require those resources, like we can send those resources, but
So
IMU, AWA, ISG puts on webinars and seminars that count towards certification. So at the very least, they probably have to take like 2 or 3 classes online, which are probably an hour a piece, and they usually give out more CEUs than they actually have to put in time, so.
that's what we needed to know.
Oh, yeah. we don't.
Okay, so really no action on this one then, if we're not looking to approve. No, I'm good with that. So no action on 7E, or no. Yeah, no further action for 7E. And 7F. Keegan, any other department updates you'd like to share?
We started implementation of our ultrasonic meters. We've handed out, I ordered 3 1-inch meters for the ultrasonics, and within a week of getting those in, we handed them all out. So those are getting full swing. We're going in with ultrasonics. In the meantime of us putting those in, the county shop secondary roads, their 1.5 inch meter frozen broke for the second time in 4 years. So we just ordered another 1.5 inch ultrasonic meter for them, which came today, so I'll give that to them. So ultrasonics are definitely what we're gonna be switching over to. There was a tiny bit of a reading error, I guess. So those ultrasonics require so much flow after they're installed before they start reading, and it kind of threw us off because with the mechanical meters, they just instantly start running because they're a propeller, so as soon as water hits them, they just start spinning. But with the ultrasonics, they just require a little bit of flow before they can actually start reading. So Steve Brush from Vanward was actually out today, and we had a lot of discussion and clarification. So the ultrasonics I think they're the best way moving forward for the city, and I think they'll be more efficient than the positive displacement meters were.
So that 1.5 inch for the yard there, what does that normally run?
So anything above an inch meter, we invoice. For
Yes,
those.
okay, I just was,
Yes.
so you know I'm going with this, is,
Yeah.
if this is happening, and it's breaking, how are we getting?
How are we covering this?
Yeah, so, I do have the pricing for all of those, which I can send to you guys.
That'd be great. Thank you.
But yeah, I think the 1.5 meter that we are purchasing and then invoicing the county, which they are aware of that. I think it's like $1,100.
Sure, okay, good.
So they are
Already
they will get invoiced for that, but I can send that pricing over to you guys.
No, you're already ahead of it, and that's great, that's what I was,
Yep,
that's what I was after, so.
But yeah, other than that, fire alarms got tested today. I think we passed. I got the email right when we sat down for the meeting, so. Yeah, Johnson Control was out today. They tested all of that. It's fluoride delivery delay today.
Okay,
Smooth sailing.
Perfect.
excellent, thank you.
Thank you, Colin. You can-
I've done this like 3 times today.
You with a C or a K or whoever you are.
It starts with a C, so.
Yeah.
Moving on to number 8, do I hear a motion for adjournment?
Motion for adjournment.
Motion by Peterson, second by Hamilton, all in favor, say aye. Aye, nays, ayes have it. Thank you, everyone.
Lisa?
I can send out those budget proposals tomorrow too, you guys can see them, I plan on having that. Right,
Oh.
this day went a little crazy, but I'll send them.
Yeah.